You are Locked On Warriors POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Warriors POSTCAST. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KNBR. And tonight, the Golden State Warriors were run out of the gym by the Sacramento Kings, falling 129-99 at Chase Center. And although the Warriors had Stephen Curry back in the lineup tonight, the rest of the team looked sluggish out of the gates in the second game of a back-to-back and essentially lost this game in that first quarter. The Kings, conversely, came out of the gates firing despite not having De'Aaron Fox in the lineup, shooting over 58% in that first half. Is this a sign of the team regressing without Jonathan Kuminga, or is this just a symptom of playing the most back-to-backs in the NBA for the second consecutive season? We'll break it all down, but first, I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. Please, if you aren't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button right now. Thanks also for listening on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed and making us your first listen following these Dubs games. Make sure to check out the Locked On Warriors Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. Charlie Walter does a great job. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Win or lose, visit FanDuel.com to get started. And as I said, in this one, the Warriors basically lost this game in that first quarter. I mean, in that first quarter, the Kings, they shot 58%, and just the Warriors seemed like they couldn't really buy a bucket. I'm looking back, they actually shot 47% in that first quarter, which isn't terrible, but especially from beyond the arc, the Warriors could not make a shot from outside. And the Kings tonight, I mean, they had great outside perimeter shooting despite not having De'Aaron Fox. Malik Monk basically ran the offense tonight in that De'Aaron Fox role and looked fine. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying that the Kings didn't really seem to miss De'Aaron Fox too much, but they didn't really seem to miss De'Aaron Fox too much. And the Warriors just looked slow. I mean, they looked slow on defense. They looked slow on offense. The only guy who didn't look slow for them was Stephen Curry. Steph looked fine tonight. I mean, he had 26 points, 8 of 12 shooting, 4 of 8 from deep. That's all fine. He played 30 minutes. He had 7 boards. Like, Steph was doing it all, but nobody else really pitched in. And that was the big key that we, really zoned in on at the end of the Warriors game last night. It was that in order to keep this winning, if you want to call 2 games a winning streak, in order to keep that streak alive, the Warriors were going to have to get contributions from the others on this roster. The Dennis Schroeders, the Lindy Waters, and the Buddy Hields, or Moses Moody if he ever gets enough playing time. Tonight, Moses gets 26 minutes, most of that in garbage time after the Warriors were largely out of this one already. I need to see my guy Moses Moody getting some more minutes, man. 5 of 10 from the floor, 3 of 6 from three-point land, and he plays solid defense. He's getting on the floor for loose balls. Moses Moody needs to get more minutes, especially with Jonathan Kuminga out. I think Moses Moody can provide a lift for this team, especially from deep. He has been solid all season long with that 3-ball. I think Moses Moody needs some more run, and he's a guy, again, who never really seems to make the negative plays. That I don't know why Moses Moody doesn't get more Buddy Hield minutes, for instance, right now. When Buddy is as bad as he's been, I mean, he had a little bit of redemption in the last game. But again, tonight, 7 points, a minus 25 was the worst plus-minus on the Warriors. A couple of turnovers for Buddy, and 1 for 5 from 3. And it just looks out of sorts at times when he's pressing, and he's just not really in the flow of anything. And, I mean, Lindy Waters, 1 for 4, 2 of 5 from 1 for 4 from 3, and 2 of 5 from the field. Only 5 points for Lindy. You need more from those guys. But the biggest underperformer tonight for the Warriors was absolutely Dennis Schroeder. And, I mean, this is a guy who's got to step up more as a scorer. We've seen the difference in the Warriors when Dennis Schroeder is a scorer and when he is not. And tonight, 1 for 7 from the floor, 0 for 2 from 3. Just not nearly enough. Only 3 points for Dennis Schroeder. And I mean, you got to have contributions from somewhere else. If Jonathan Kuminga is going to be out for the next 3 weeks, which was reported today, he's going to be reevaluated then, so it could be even longer. But that's 11 games that the Warriors, including this one, that the Warriors are going to go through without Jonathan Kuminga. And 11 games can absolutely be the end of the Warriors season. I mean, if they just tank these next 11 games, I mean, it's a long season. There's still time. The Warriors could go on a crazy win streak. But again, that puts you way behind the 8 ball. You got a lot of ground to make up in the second half, and this season starts to look a lot like last season, except they're a year older and a year slower and a year more mileage on Stephen Curry and Draymond Green. And those things aren't helpful. I mean, we've seen Steph this season not play on the front end of back-to-backs, and it's obviously been helpful for Steph on the back end of back-to-backs. Look at his performance tonight. That's fine. But the rest of the Warriors, this team doesn't really feel like it has the depth to handle these back-to-backs right now. And maybe it's not really a depth problem so much as it is a lineup problem. Steve Kerr's got to figure out these rotations. Moses Moody needs more minutes. And I mean, you got to have more from the big guys in the middle. TJD, Kevon Looney, you can get more minutes out of these guys in these types of games. And I mean, I know that the way that this one played out, the Kings getting up by a large margin early on, the Warriors had to rely on that 3 ball to get back in the game. So you weren't playing Kevon Looney and TJD a lot in this one. But the type of matchups that you saw tonight was going to kind of give the Warriors rotation opportunities to really dictate how this game went. They could have really pounded the ball inside and, I mean, kind of gone at Sabonis in the interior on the offensive end. But the Warriors didn't really do that. The points in the paint weren't really a focus for the Warriors. I mean, it was a tie, 42-42, Warriors and Kings. And I thought the Warriors could have really had the advantage there, especially the way that they've held their own against these bigger teams in recent weeks. But I mean, maybe it's just too much to ask to actually continue, like, to go at that as a strength. But I really think that with the Warriors are able to hold off bigger teams on the interior and play them much tougher than we saw them play the Kings on the interior tonight. I don't know why you didn't just really go at Sabonis, who is not the best interior defender, and really try and make the Kings earn it tonight. But, you know, the Warriors just from the start looked flat. They looked low energy. They looked like they had just played a game less than 24 hours ago, which was the case in this one. And they were super flat in this one, did not look very good. The shot was not falling for the Warriors as a team. They shoot 45% from the floor and 34% from three. That is not going to get it done. The reason that the Warriors won the prior 2 games coming into tonight is because the shooting got a lot better. And tonight, the defense wasn't very good either. The shooting wasn't very good. Wasn't really a damn thing. The Warriors did well tonight. Other than Steph Curry going out there and getting his 26 points, he was really trying to just keep the Warriors afloat there in that third quarter. But, I mean, it was just too much Sacramento all night long. I mean, the Kings just pouring in 3-pointers, 19 of them for the Kings, only 12 for the Warriors. And also the turnovers, man. The turnover bug jumped up and bit the Warriors tonight. They've been really, I mean, for the Warriors, they've been pretty decent at limiting the turnovers this season. I think they're around 10th in the NBA right now in turnovers per game, which for the Warriors is really, really good because they constantly turn the ball over. That's just kind of the brand of basketball that they play, a very high pace, high energy. But 22 turnovers tonight is entirely too many. Draymond Green and Stephen Curry combined for 9 of them between the two of them. And that just can't happen because the rest of the team, they were talking about this on the broadcast, and it's absolutely true. The rest of the team is going to kind of play off of how these two guys are playing. They set the tone for the rest of this team. And if they're being sloppy with the ball, what's going to stop Buddy Hield from being sloppy with the ball? Absolutely nothing. So, I mean, it's got to start from the top down. Draymond Green and Steph got to take better care of the ball. This is not the same type of team that the Warriors have been in the past where you can just cover up those mistakes with 3 balls. That's not how this team operates. That's not going to be how this team wins games. The Warriors got to be better at limiting these mistakes. I mean, the margin for error is very, very, very slim for this Warriors team. They're going to need to start limiting these miscues a lot more. I mean, so many of these turnovers are just, I mean, the Warriors just handing the ball over to their opponents. In so many of these situations, they're unforced errors, and they got to stop. They absolutely got to stop. But going forward, I mean, it is the back end of a back-to-back. I don't think that this is too telling of at least of the defense. You know, the issues we saw tonight from the defense, the slow rotations and you know, poor contested shots. I don't think that those are staples that we're going to be seeing going forward. I think that this is just the Warriors being tired on the back end of a back-to-back, and that they got a bunch of old guys that they lean on in Stephen Curry and Draymond Green. And, you know, sometimes that happens. So on the other side, We got to talk about the offense, though. What is up with this Warriors offense? Again, another game with less than 100 points scored without Jonathan Kuminga, and he's been playing really well lately, really, really well. Probably the best basketball of his career that he's been playing. Without him, how do the Warriors fill that gap in their offense? Let's talk about that next on the Locked On Warriors postcast. Today's show is sponsored by Prizepicks. Basketball season is heating up, and there's no better way to get real money action while watching your favorite NBA stars than with Prizepicks. Whether you're a diehard fan or just love some friendly competition, Prizepicks makes it fun and easy to turn your basketball knowledge into cash. Here's how it works. Pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Think LeBron is going to drop 30, or maybe Steph's going to drop 30, or Luka's going to get more than 8 assists? Prizepicks lets you make your predictions and put your money where your mouth is in just 60 seconds. And I've been using Prizepicks all season. I've been using Prizepicks for the last several seasons. And let me tell you, it's addictive. I was in the grocery store with my girlfriend earlier today. She looks over, she goes, "You want Prizepicks again?" Absolutely, I said. And this week, I had so many different lineups going with various players in this Lions-Vikings game that's going on right now. And man, I thought that one was going to be a barn burner. I had the more than on so many different players. And man, was I wrong. It's looking like it's going to be a swing and a miss for me this week. But I'll be back at it Tuesday when the Dubs are back in action. And now is the perfect time to join if you haven't already. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. No need to win to get the bonus. It's guaranteed. Prizepicks, run your game. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. And tonight, the Warriors just get spanked by the Kings. We got 2 postcasts tonight, the Warriors and the 49ers earlier tonight. And both of them, the defense just gets absolutely blown up in both of these games. It's never fun, man, when you got to cover 2 losing games in one day. I mean, it's just rough out here for Bay Area sports right now. This has just been how things have been in recent, I want to say weeks, months, but it feels like in the last couple of years, save for that 49ers Super Bowl run last year, which ended in disappointment, Bay Area sports has not been doing too well lately. And just checking the chat, my guy Daniel, always checking in, saying what's up, my guy Daniel. And Sawyer, Milam saying, light the beam. We don't need any of that Kings crap here. But, I do got to admit that the beam, it's like the one cool thing that the Sacramento Kings have. I mean, the beam is a great idea. And I think every single team in the NBA is kind of jealous that they didn't think of it first. So shout out to the Sacramento Kings and their beam. That's pretty fun. If you haven't been up to a game in Sacramento as a Warriors fan, it's just a short drive up to 80. Actually is a very, very fun environment. I know tonight's game was at Chase Center, but going out to Golden One, I've done that. I went out for the Warriors-Kings playoff matchup a couple years ago, and that was really fun. Very, very, very intense. Obviously, the Sacramento Kings tired of being bullied by the Warriors year after year. But tonight, it's the Kings that do the bullying against the Warriors. As I said, 129-99, a 30-point shellacking at home, and that's without De'Aaron Fox. I mean, the Kings really just smacked the Warriors tonight. Malik Monk leading the way, 26 points, 9 of 14 shooting. He just had a nice game. Malik Monk really kind of filled that De'Aaron Fox role tonight, and the Warriors couldn't stop him. But more so, the Warriors couldn't buy a bucket. The Warriors shooting woes. After they kind of disappeared in 2025, we thought, new year, new me for the Warriors. They were going to start hitting these shots. They were going to start hitting their open three-pointers. But no, they just keep clanking them. And, you got to have somebody start to step up without Jonathan Kuminga. And it's going to be really tough to replace his scoring. Like, looking at this Warriors offense tonight, I know it's the back end of a back-to-back, but man, oh man, were they sloppy, disorganized. I mean, just not really, didn't look crisp. Nothing looked like it was flowing. They did not look in rhythm at all. They looked slow. And none of those things are positives in the NBA. I mean, if any of those one things is a bad word descriptor for an offense in the NBA, using all of those adjectives is really not a good sign for the Warriors. And it was starting to kind of mesh, the Steph and Jonathan Kuminga thing, because for a while, those two just haven't been able to get on the same page, in the sense of when Steph was out, that was when Jonathan Kuminga would shine the brightest. But that has changed in recent weeks. They've started to play better when they're on the floor together or really playing in the same game together. And Jonathan Kuminga is leading that second unit, although they do have some possessions where both are on the floor at the same time, and they started to look more and more effective in those moments. And so the Warriors, they gotta figure something out. And this is now up to Steve Kerr to work some magic with these lineups and figure out what that secret sauce is to get this offense going. And without Kuminga, I mean, when he would come in, even when the shots would stop falling, he has started in recent weeks to really be the guy to kind of go at the hole and get to the line. And he was making free throws a little bit more often than he was earlier in the season. He was finding more consistency out there, and he was really starting to get better with his discernment. That's the biggest improvement that I've seen with Kuminga in recent weeks. And knowing when to pass the ball, knowing when to take the shot, knowing when to drive the hole. He was doing all those things substantially better, knowing when to pass out instead of just trying to jump over 3 different dudes. I mean, he looked a lot better in recent weeks. He stopped taking all those bad mid-range jumpers and those little fadeaway shots. He started going at dudes in the paint, taking the ball to the hole with aggression. And that was kind of getting the Warriors through some of these lulls where when they would start clanking shots, Kuminga would step in and, kind of give the offense a little life raft until the shots would start falling again. And you don't have a single guy on the team who can do that anymore. Andrew Wiggins, he can kind of do that. We saw that in the Warriors game last night, but we can't rely on that every night. That's almost as crazy as relying on Buddy Hield to actually make a good amount of three-pointers or a consistent amount of three-pointers. With Buddy, it seems like he's either going to go 5 for 8 from downtown or he's going to go 1 for 6. It's one or the other with Buddy, feast or famine. And, I mean, that's kind of what it seems like with all the rest of the Warriors right now. Aside from Stephen Curry, you got to find somebody else to put the ball in the bucket with consistency. It's a make-or-miss league. It's pretty simple to put the ball in the hoop. And they don't have a lot of guys on the team that are putting the ball in the hoop right now. Dennis Schroeder, biggest underperformer tonight. We talked about this a little bit, but it's worth stating again. Without Jonathan Kuminga, it is imperative that Dennis Schroeder steps up and plays at the same level that he was playing at with the Brooklyn Nets earlier this season. When he was with the Nets before the trade, he was at career highs in like field goal percentage, free throw percentage, three-point shooting, like all these different things. Dennis Schroeder was having a career year, and he came to the Warriors, and yeah, it's a new place. It's a new offense. The Warriors offense is a little bit different than a lot of other teams, and it's a little more passing friendly and fast paced and less ISO ball. But Schroeder has not found that fit here yet, and the shot has just fallen completely off the planet. Again, 1 for 7 tonight for Dennis Schroeder, and this is a bummer because really since the end of that Phoenix Suns game when he hit that really big 3, he has been pretty solid. He's kind of flipped a switch, and I thought he had really turned a corner. It was one thing that I really was encouraged by in these last couple Warriors games. I mean, I know that the whole team looked pretty good, but Schroeder himself, the way that he was kind of dictating tempo and pace and all these other things, I thought were great signs of what was to come for him. And this is just a speed bump on the back end of a back-to-back. But man, he looked out of sorts tonight. He looked really, really, really bad. This whole Warriors team really did. I mean, TJD over 3, 0 points. I mean, he didn't really have enough of a run, I don't think, to develop a rhythm on offense at all. And between that's kind of a key for me, is those two guys got to get in sync with that high pick and roll game. It will really help out the rest of this Warriors team. And that's what Schroeder likes to do. He loves to run high pick and roll. And let TJD and Schroeder kind of do some of what the Warriors did last year with Chris Paul and TJD getting a lot of minutes on the floor together. They looked really good. You would see lobs every game. It was like you'd get at least 1 or 2 of those lobs. And I think they can find some of that with that high pick and roll with Schroeder and TJD. You got to figure it out. And then if you want to try and stop it as a defense, then you still got shooters around. You got Steph Curry out there, obviously. And so you make them pick their poison. Crash and defend that lob, or go out and defend the shooters. So I think they need to start to do that a little more. And again, I said this earlier, but Moses Moody needs more run. Moses Moody, 5 of 10 from the floor tonight, 3 of 6 from three-point land, even 50% from the field and from three-point land. He needs more run. This guy never makes mistakes on defense. He's always in the right place at the right time. He gives you effort, energy. He's hustling. He's diving on the floor all the time. His motto is, you never got to get ready if you stay ready, and he is stay ready Moses Moody. Get this guy more minutes, man. Like, what else does he need to do to prove that he needs more minutes? It just boggles me that he doesn't get more playing time. Just taking a quick, brief look at the chat. Andrew the GOAT says the Kings are still trash. Those little brothers out the I-80. I mean, tonight I think the Kings have the right to say that the Warriors are pretty trash. But hey, the Warriors still 1 game better than, or 1.5 games better, I guess, than the Kings in the standings. Warriors 18 wins to the Kings 17. Kings 17 losses. Kings 19 losses. Excuse me. Warriors 17. So. Warriors slightly better than the Kings, but honestly, my guy, both of these teams pretty mediocre at this point in time. I mean, we're looking at 2 teams that are vying for the number 10 or number 9 play-in spot. So that's where the Warriors are at right now. This is the new reality for the Warriors, and you gotta find another option. And I think that all of these things kind of add up to the same thing that we end up looping back to almost every show. Warriors just are talent deficient, and they need to make a move. And with Miami on deck, we got to talk about the Jimmy Butler thing again. And I mean, is that the answer? We got to discuss that next on the Locked On Warriors postcast. Today's show is sponsored by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. It's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. And if you were looking to maybe do some against the spread action tonight in favor of the Warriors, I hope you didn't do that. I mean, losing by 30 definitely did not cover tonight. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today if you haven't joined already, and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and tonight the Warriors just get shellacked 129-99 at Chase Center at the hands of the Kings, with no I almost said DeMar DeRozan, with no De'Aaron Fox. The Kings still lay it on the Warriors. And I mean, the Warriors are clearly a talent deficient team at this point. I mean, tonight, again, I'm not putting too much stock in the fact that you got just blown out tonight and how sluggish they looked, because it is the back end of a back-to-back. And as we all know, any team in the NBA, not just the Warriors, but like all NBA teams, are not very good on the back ends of back-to-backs. And so I'm not putting too much stock in getting creamed by 30, but I do think it's glaringly obvious that without Jonathan Kuminga, the Warriors have no second option. I mean, Andrew Wiggins is your best like semblance of a number 2 on this team, but we've seen time and time again that you cannot trust Andrew Wiggins to be a true number 2 option for the Golden State Warriors. You have to have somebody else. Even when he was phenomenal for the Warriors in that championship year when they last won in 2022. You still had Jordan Poole doing Jordan Poole things when he was still, pretty good for the Warriors offensively fight night with Draymond Green. But the Warriors got to find a second option, and it's got to be out there somewhere. And again, next on deck is the Miami Heat. We aren't going to see Jimmy Butler on the floor because he's still suspended for conduct detrimental to the team by being so public about wanting to leave and having his joy of basketball robbed, yada, yada, yada. But is this guy the answer to the Warriors' problems? And personally, I think he's not, but I think that he's the closest thing that you can have to an answer that's you're going to be able to get to come here. I think that the Warriors are just ultimately not going to be able to get Johnson from the Nets because they don't want to give up Kuminga. And I think that ultimately, with the way that things are going in Miami right now, they might be able to get Jimmy without giving up Jonathan Kuminga. And that sounds a little bit crazy, but maybe with the right combination of draft picks, with other role players, maybe a Brandon Pajemski, other guys in general, maybe a Moses Moody, maybe you can get it done. And if you can get a Jimmy Butler in here with a Jonathan Kuminga, I think that gives the Warriors a pretty solid, pretty legitimate chance, pretty fearsome trio going into the playoffs. And it allows Kuminga to kind of just keep scoring at his own rate, let it come naturally, not have to force it on certain nights, because Jimmy Butler can be there to carry the team when it's needed. And that's kind of I say that statement kind of holding my breath with a little bit of bated breath, because Jimmy Butler, his availability isn't always the best. But I will say, when Jimmy Butler's a motivated man, he's a motivated man. And I think pairing him with Steph Curry and Draymond Green might just get that man motivated enough to get all the way into, a Western Conference Finals or maybe a semis or something like that. Do I think it gets them all the way to the championship? I think every single possible thing needs to fall the Warriors' way if that is going to be an option. Like, it needs to be like kind of how 2022 was, where virtually everything just started clicking at the right time and the Warriors just hit the gas pedal when everything lined up. And I mean, maybe that could happen. Maybe. Outside chance. It's slim, but it's a better shot than the Warriors would have without making that trade. I mean, without making that trade, you have Kuminga out for the next 3 weeks, 10 more games without Jonathan Kuminga. How many wins are in those games? I mean, I'm looking at the Warriors schedule. And I mean, yeah, I guess you get Detroit after Miami, but I mean, you don't got a whole lot of easy games on this schedule. Indiana, tough game. And a lot of road games too. Minnesota, you're going into Minnesota. You got Boston on the schedule. You're going to have Sacramento again. Like, this is not going to be easy sledding without Jonathan Kuminga. You are going to need to find somebody else to score the basketball. And I don't know that there's somebody on this roster that can. I mean, Dennis Schroeder can play better than he has. That's for sure. Buddy can play better than he has. That's also for sure. But will they? Will they figure it out before this 11 games, this 10, 11 game time frame, before the Warriors hopefully get Jonathan Kuminga back? And by the way, let's remind everyone, that's still a hopefully, because he's going to be reevaluated in 3 weeks, not necessarily coming back in 3 weeks. So there's a lot that the Warriors need to figure out right now. And they need to, I mean, this is obvious to me. You got to figure out another scoring option. You absolutely have to. You can't let this season slip away and just waste another year of Steph. If this team just free falls over the next 10 games, that's enough to kind of push them out of this playoff race. And I don't think that they'd have enough in them to climb up back that mountain in the second half and make it into the playoffs. I really don't, or even into the play-in, honestly. Like, they got a lot of work cut out for them. They got to figure something out. And I really do think that they have to go make a splashy trade at this point. There's no other solution. You can either sit here and we can, do some like voodoo magic or cross our fingers and, do whatever and pray that Buddy Hield is going to figure it out. That Dennis Schroeder is going to figure it out. That Lindy Waters is going to have all these, roll back the tape on the Lindy Waters legacy game, and we're just going to get that version every night. But none of those things are very realistic. The most realistic way for this Warriors team to get better is to go get more talent. Make a trade. Go get Jimmy Butler. He seems to be the most available guy. Seems like he will fit here. Go get it done. It's all the time that we got for you guys today here on the Locked On Warriors postcast. A very low energy game from the Warriors tonight as they get just smacked by the Kings 129-99 at Chase Center. They'll be playing, as I said, the Miami Heat on Tuesday, get a day off tomorrow, and they'll be back at it on Tuesday. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Locked On Warriors postcast, making us your first listen following these Dubs games. Make sure you check out the Locked On Warriors Daily Show with Charlie Walter for more in-depth coverage. And make sure you tune in on Tuesday when we come to you live after the Miami Heat game. And hopefully it's a little more high energy than this one. Hopefully it's a little more fun than this one was for the Warriors. It's all the time we got for you guys today. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll see you next time. Peace.